welcome. I thought we'd do a little discussion about Dark Waters and Agent Fresco in general, because as I already told you guys before we started this conversation, I'm a huge fan of your guys' work, and of Destrier in particular. To me, it's my favorite record of the decade so far, and I'm really looking forward to your guys' next record. So again, I think we already talked about that, but would you tell us again when that is coming out, presumably?
Yeah. Let's say early next year.
Yeah, there'll 100% be new material out early next year. But it also really depends on, label, touring plans, and how we want to spread out the album as well, if we want to build up some kind of single release journey. But definitely next year, new material, new music.
Cool. Awesome. I'm really excited. Have you guys picked a name yet for the new record? Nothing so far.
No, still changing a lot, changing words, even looking into concepts that I wasn't thinking about before. It all just happens, so late in the progress. So nothing yet, but we could give you the scoop later, my friend.
Cool. All right. So before we start, really quickly, I'm trying to pronounce your names right. It's Arnoush, is that right? And Tutti? No, Tutti? Is that right?
Let's say close enough.
Yeah, close enough. It's Arnór and
Arnór?
Yeah.
And
Arnór
Tóti.
and Totti.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tutti is though my favorite. I like that.
Okay,
Arnór
cool.
and Tutti.
Because I'd seen an interview where it sounded like you said Arnoush. That's why I thought.
Oh.
But it's Arnur, right? It's with an R at the end.
Arnór, yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, cool. So yeah, so let's maybe talk about Dark Waters, sorry. And some of the sounds that maybe inspired you for this, because what I think is really interesting about it is especially how you guys incorporated piano into the song, which I mean, there's not a lot of piano in rock music to begin with, but I think you guys did it in a really particularly interesting way. And it really reminds of a lot of Eastern European music, like Shai Maestro from the Avishai Cohen trio, or the Esbjorn Svensson trio, the EST, So it reminded me kind of of a very lyrical, almost classical, but then jazzed up kind of thing. And I was wondering where that came from for you, how the piano worked its way into your music.
I think that's around the time where I started listening to Avishai Cohen a lot. So I think you might be right on point with that, like his piano arrangements and Shai's playing, of course, or, from another world. It's so elegant, yet so complicated, and it's just the perfect balance of complexity and beauty. So we wrote it in 2012, I guess, and that's around the time where I discovered Avishai Cohen and have been listening to him ever since. So I think that's a very, very accurate assumption of you, even though I haven't thought about it really. But the piano part was the basis of the whole track, actually. It's the first thing I wrote, and actually kind of all the piano before anything else I had written before we started layering the other elements on top of it.
Cool. So all right, so tell me how to picture this. So you're sitting at the piano, and you're sitting at a piano, or are you sitting at a keyboard, or how does that look, first of all?
Candles. Many candles.
It was probably in my old bedroom, just with my 88 key electric thing, or it might be, and there's another room here that has a grand piano. So I can't really remember where exactly it was written.
But it started with that intro lick, or did it start with the bridge? Is also very unique section, I think. That's the one that reminded me of Avishai Cohen immediately, I think. So do you remember which one it started with?
It was probably the beginning, like the intro thing. But I was also listening, like, because we were quite young then. The album is now what, 6 years old. Or you know the
song
track,
itself.
the song itself.
Oof.
It was one of the first songs we wrote. So
after a long time listening, it was the first track we started on, and the one we did the most changes to, and worked the most on, because we just felt like the structure wasn't there, and we kept changing it until we were gonna collapse because of just how frustrated we were getting. But somehow it clicked. I can't even remember what we did, but I have a live recording on my computer of it where we played it live at a small bar in Iceland, and it was very different from how it is today. But the piano stayed the same. But yeah, it's the first track, so it was also weird to work with it for an album that came out 2015. Started on it like 11 or 12, I think, 2011 or 12.
Wow. So how would you say the track has changed then? Is it mostly like structural, as you say, or is it, have you guys incorporated new sections completely? Like, did you write new music for it after that?
The chorus was different.
The chorus was different, and we had another section, remember,
Yeah.
at the end of the song.
I really liked it. Yeah, we should use it at some point in our lives. That was a good section, but yeah, completely. The rhythmical pattern was different in the chorus, wasn't it? I'm pretty sure.
I'll agree with that.
Yeah, until further evidence will.
It would be. So you mentioned there is a recording. Is it maybe possible to take a listen to that, or to send it? I'd be just really fascinated by.
I'll send it to you after this talk. I'll find it and.
It must be terrible.
It's terrible because the melodies are not quite finished, and there's just different parts going on. But we wanted to try it out just to hear. That's like a pretty safe way to try new material and figure out if it just you feel it if it's right, and we just felt it was not right. So it's one of those recordings of like something that's, and the tempo is all over the place, and I'm playing the piano, which I never do with that track live, so that's not also very good or well performed, but yeah.
It'd be really interesting just to see how it's developed and yeah, how it was in its original shape, and what made you guys want to stick with the first idea, because that's always what I think is most interesting, figuring out like what was there that inspired you to keep going with it.
Yeah.
So okay, so it starts with that piano riff, and then obviously the next thing that happens is that the rest of the band comes in, and we have this very rhythmical kind of guitar plus drums kind of element coming into the track. Was that the next thing you wrote, or?
Yeah, I think so. The drum beat was something I'd been finger drumming for quite a while, and those tend to be the best like drum beats I write. In my opinion, something that is just very natural to you and kind of just settles into your daily life before it becomes a song.
It's cool. I do with my teeth. Whenever I'm writing a drum groove to something, I'll click my teeth, and I'll have different sounds for snares and bass drums and stuff like that.
I do exactly the same. My girlfriend hates it.
Not following you guys. It creeps me the fuck out.
Yeah, that's cool. Okay, cool.
Bass drum on the right side, snare on the left side.
What is this?
Yeah, no, that's a real thing. It's a real thing. Makes you wonder if more people do that.
Well,
my dentist has actually commented on this, like saying, "Are you like, what are you doing with your teeth?"
Oh, that's crazy.
I drum a lot with my teeth.
Yeah.
She was like, "Shouldn't do that."
No, it's really cool though, because you can do like the drums and melody at the same time, so you can like hum a bass and do the drums at the same time.
Sure.
It's really cool. Anyways, okay, so you got that riff, and basically, do you program the drums? Do you use MIDI for that, or how does that look?
Yeah, that's usually how it works. Program drums, and then they change a little bit in the process.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. And then, so basically, when do you come in, Arnór? Is it at at that point when everything is kind of already there, when you kind of have an arrangement already, or does it happen much earlier?
No, like still today, that's the way we've been working. Totally finished like the entire instrumental soundscape, just the entire composition without vocals, and then I listen to the tracks and try to, you know, I don't know what kind of keywords I would use. I've been using memorable a lot. It's just basically, or like a relationship to the track. So it's maybe 3 words. It's like trying to figure out something that's emotional, that's emotional, memorable, and then go with that, and then try sing it, record it, see where we are with, you know, if Tóti likes it or not. And we come from 2 different backgrounds as well, so it's kind of like he's finished, you know, he studied composition at the Icelandic music, what do you call it, the university, what? Academy of Arts. And I finished elementary school, so we're not really at the same point there. No, I finished high school. And I just want to connect to the song, and quickly there was, you know, I loved the track and I knew what I wanted to do emotionally with it, and I can't remember when it was finished. I can't remember the progress of that track, but like that's usually, like, long story short, that's how we've worked since the beginning. Just he creates the entire composition, I bring in the melodies and the lyrics, and if we want to make some changes, which we rarely do, we do that at the end. You know, if it's, you know, something with the structure or something that could help carry the melody better, changing maybe chords or anything in the structure, we do that then.
What does that mean at the end? Like before you record, or what's that mean?
Yeah, like when we try it out a couple of times, maybe live, just to see how it feels. I think it's more with this album, the new album we're writing now. We're doing more of these, you know, changes at the end. We're like, well, what's not necessary for this track, but what could be cut away without taking, you know, a core out of the track. But we weren't much, you know, going back into the tracks and changing, I think, especially for Destrier.
No, it's very rarely that we do that, but we did do that with Dark Water quite a lot.
Yeah, that's the one track that we changed a lot, because we knew that it had, I don't want to say like potential, we just knew we could make a better song.
I'm not gone.
He's gone. Yeah. Just felt like it. We owed it more. You know, it had more to it. So we changed the structure a bit. Took away like a complete. Was it a D part, or I don't know? It was an extra part at the end, whether it was an outro or not, and made the chorus different. I can't remember
really
when.
Fascinating though. So interesting. So that means really like the vocals are kind of the last thing that's being written for most of the tracks. Interesting. Yeah. That's really interesting.
I've always looked at it like Tóti creates the body and I put the soul into it, you know. And like we're come from very two different perspectives, and that's how hopefully we're creating some unique and some unique music.
And what would you say those two perspectives are? Maybe each of you about their own perspectives.
You talked about education, and you know, education isn't anything until you do something with it, you know, and you can be completely musical without having any education, but it can give you a different perspective on things. Like, for example, you know, these odd rhythms we sometimes work with. You wouldn't have to be educated to get to that point. The math is very simple, you know, and everything about it is really simple. It's just a matter of, you know, perspective. Yeah, like sometimes I envy Arnór at having he can view things without hearing exactly what is going on, which I
part deaf. No,
which I find very fascinating sometimes, and also these rhythms can be interpreted often in very different ways. Like for example, in Dark Water, me and Kelly, we have this what we call the C part, where you can think about the rhythm in different ways. And I love writing music that you can hear in more than one way. Sometimes you can hear it in 3 different ways. It's just a matter of perspective, how you which element you define as the pulse or yeah, it's that's the most fun rhythmical thing I can think of.
Interesting. And Arnór?
Oh, the question was yes, how we because I agree with Tóti, but it's also frustrating when you don't know what's going on. Like just yesterday, I had Kaylee here. We were looking at one of the tracks, and I was like, "Well, but can you here's the melody I have, but can you tell me now what is actually going on? Like, what is going on in this song? Because now I need to know. Are there some chords I'm not hearing? Are you like a level 30 kind of magician, and I'm level 2, and I have no idea what's going on?" And it's just so fascinating. So I come with this childish, naive, almost approach to these songs, and I purely focus on emotional content, and it just has to be natural. Like just figuring out the melody fits naturally. It gives me some kind of emotional pleasure and something I can imagine like visually what I want to do lyrically with it. I think that's why I'm so much in love with what we're doing, is that I mean in no way could I ever write, or like I could never do this kind of music without Tóti, because I would never think in these ways. And I feel like just the combination of that, these crazy ideas he has, the rhythmical concepts as well, and just when you pair that up, then hopefully with some depth and melodic texture to the vocals, and you get what is Agent Fresco, and hopefully that's like something for everybody, whether you want to explore, go deeper into the lyrics or deeper into the composition that Tóti makes, or just want to enjoy a nice melody. I'm sorry, it sounded like in a commercial, but just so many elements that I love about music that we somehow get cramped up in this package we call Agent Fresco, which I love. And I feel like there are no boundaries really.
I really have the same experience. Like when I listen to the music, it really feels like it's a marriage of 2 worlds. And that's, I think, what ultimately is so special about it, because the music is so complex and it sounds very, very schooled in a non-boring way, of course, but like it sounds very complex and very thought through and through composed. And then the vocals sound it's what gives it is kind of memorability and what brings the kind of catchiness to it, although, and that's something we should definitely talk about. I think the vocals are also fairly complex. There's also not a lot of repetition in the melodies, at least not as much as in other like more the sung genres, But so what I'd be interested in with the music and the complexity that comes from that is how do you think about rhythm, and how do you work with it? How do you come up with these new ideas, Tóti, where do you find inspiration in rhythm?
I find them all over the place, actually. Sometimes in just, like I talked about earlier, the natural thing of grinding your teeth, or, drumming on your lap or something. Sometimes just with ratios, something over something, exploring that kind of stuff. And I've actually been drawing a lot of inspiration from the modular recently, not in like a synthesizer kind of term, but in just creating like bases of rhythms, because you can get, you know, everything that's brings me a new perspective on especially rhythm is very fascinating to me, and yeah, different approaches, and I try not to, you know, like I could never be in a project that just has like a very basic AC/DC rhythm that like in every song, you know, not that I'm against it or
Fuck AC/DC.
above
No.
AC/DC,
Yeah.
but I could never write music like that. It has to be, because there's so much left to explore in rhythm. You know, bands like Meshuggah have of course sparked this whole, I would say, renaissance in rhythm creation, and they're, you know, a huge inspiration to us in the rhythm department. And there is a lot going on, but there's so much left to explore. Like opposed to say, now I'm gonna sound like I don't like melodies or something,
Yeah.
but it's way harder to do something completely new with melodies, because it's more limited in a sense. But
I could start grinding my teeth alive. Yeah, sorry.
That could be an idea.
Okay, we should try that.
But yeah, the bottom line is there's so much left to explore that can be approached in new ways still, you know.
Cool.
Bam.
Bam. Mic drop. So I think I read this on your website, but you once said, I've also been very fascinated by the Harmonic series and its relationship with sound, perception, and links to other aspects of music and natural sounds. Could you explain a little bit more what you meant by that, or where your interests lie here?
I think I said that.
Oh, really?
No. Of course I'm kidding. Sorry.
We'll get to you. Don't worry. Trying to always just like,
Yeah, it's just time.
No, the Harmonic series are of course a very fascinating subject that I think everybody should learn the basics of, and you can learn about it in many different ways. For example, synthesizer or a very, you know, kind of pure form of looking at how harmonics work. So that was about the time I was getting into synthesizers. Now I'm kind of over that era.
Mhm.
But it's
So you're
also
talking
so
about additional synthesis, correct?
no, not necessarily, because you can you know see how harmonics work in like say a sawtooth wave. You can see how it sounds when the harmonics, you know, are decreasing, you know. Yeah, that's just one way of approaching it, but it's just so built, harmonics are so built into everything we hear. And as soon as you kind of realize the relationships also between notes and their harmonics, how, you know, harmonics play together in some, it's like a different kind of approach to harmony when you think about the included harmonics, you know.
Mhm.
Like that harmonic might not play well with this harmonic of that note or something. It's just, yeah, it just makes it makes a perfect fifth. It makes the harmonic relationship between two notes that more complex when you think about it. There's way more stuff going on, you know. And yeah.
And so that influences you in when you were writing chords, or when you're coming up with arrangements of like the voicing of a singular chord, or when do you feel that inspires you?
Yeah, that's one aspect of it. But also, like, Testier was very much influenced by the Harmonic series. Like, it starts with the Harmonic series, just in a different order. So you can kind of the first song of the album starts with just random sections of the Harmonic series, slowly building up one note, and then we use that note throughout the album, coming in and out and appearing in different places, sometimes with different harmonics. So that's kind of and it ends also with like the reverse, like the harmonics disintegrating into nothingness until there's one random harmonic left that's not really, it's way different than the root note it's conveying, but it's been there the whole time,
Mm-hmm. Do you, from the top of your head, do you know where those points in the songs are? Which songs those are, if someone wants to find them?
We mostly use them for basses, actually. Like I sampled it into Contact and used it for like a bass foundation in some sections. Yeah, it's quite a lot in Mono Novare, if I recall correctly, and it's scattered throughout the album. But that's not really the point of it, where it is. It's more of,
the birth and death, maybe as well.
Yeah.
Of it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's yeah. It's well good.
Cool. I definitely want to listen to it again for sure. To listen out for those spots for sure. Okay, so right. So the music is there. Now you're starting to write your lyrics on it. I don't know what. And what does that look like for you generally? Do you I know it's never one or the other, lyrics or the melody, the pitch first, but is there generally something that you're looking for first? I know you said the emotion, but the emotion could be in either. Mm-hmm. Are you looking for a phrase that already has like a melody in it, or how would you describe your process? Do you start kind of with exploring with your voice where you would want to hit a note, or how do you think that works?
Yeah, just figuring out where the music, where the vocals fit, and where I feel like it would be natural for me to hear vocals, where I find it to be too much to have myself, and where there's maybe a little bit of honor missing, and then hopefully, I mean, it's, how can I explain it? I want to sound smart like Tode, so let's I mean, just singing gibberish words, and out from those gibberish words, often there are words that I'm like, well, that had some kind of emotional depth to it, or there was like a key line there that I could, I can't remember, for instance, what it was with Dark Water, or sometimes it's just a line that just pops up, and you're like, this is the concept of this song. And with the album, it was just part of a big ass concept that I wanted to do, because I almost created a trap for myself, which was ridiculous. But looking back at it, like I'm happy to look back at it now. But knowing how we did the first album, and that being so much of a cycle of grief kind of conceptual album about the death of my father. So we have this cycle of, the last track. The album continuously, like, it just repeats itself, and every song is about a moment, and every moment is put in the order of the day. So Eyes of a Cloudcatcher, where we're saying goodbye to my father when he left us very early in the morning, is from very much in the beginning of the album. And the song like Implosions further down the road, where it's like an evening talk with my mom about how it was, to lose your best friend and lover and husband. So like with Destrier, you don't want to repeat yourself. So there was like, what can we do different? So Toad had these crazy cool ideas with just what you just talked about earlier when I mentioned the birth and death. Like, cool, let's set that up as a concept. Like the album, instead of going a cycle, this is something that there's a birth and there's a death. So there's something being created and something being destroyed. And at that point, I was dealing with a lot of anger and a lot of anxiety. I had like been attacked downtown in Iceland in front of my sisters, and I had a hard time figuring out what to do with those emotions, and you know, going through, you know, that being a case that went for 1.5 years in the court, dealing with police and dealing with like raids that I haven't had since before. So I was like, cool, let's use this album as a tool to work with these emotions and put everything into it. And like, Destrier, okay, that's perfect. That's a horse bred for war. So that's gonna be the creature. That's gonna be my alter ego for this album. It's gonna, it's something within me, like the anger. It was given birth from that incident. So that's the first track. Let them see us. Let's give it birth and then go through the album where I confront different aspects of this anger. So like dark water, I just felt like, you know, being completely disconnected with people, and had a very, you know, felt like there was a lack of empathy around me. Sea Hell, that directly, where I'm directly talking about these two guys and what I should do with this anger, and if I should there be a revenge or not, and like, how do you deal with that? I go into every single track, of course, but I love having a broader idea of what I want to do with the tracks. That's of course very difficult to do in the beginning, where you're just figuring out where's Toad heading, what's going on in my mind. We do these albums also for a very long time, so a lot can happen in like 2 or 3 years. But it's when you have everything in front of you, and you've had these melodies that are memorable, that you feel like singing, feel like they're natural, feel like you're, it just fits with your body, and there are lines here and there that gives you some kind of emotional content, and then you start working on the broader picture of it, you know what I mean? So I think that's my, yeah, I always end up pulling them all together at the very end, but until then, it's just grabbing what melodies I find powerful, emotional, and give me some kind of, you know, outlet. And then at the very end, dig deep into the lyrics, which I find to be as important as the music. So take great pride in working on that as well, but it's also very difficult sometimes, because you don't want to repeat yourself, and kind of have to do that because words have been used before. So it's that layer. It's like melodies, just what's powerful and natural, and then, you know, figuring out lyrical concepts and lyrical ideas. Not that it has to be a concept, but, you know, it's always going to be like a, if it's personal music you're creating, it's always going to be a book. It's always going to be chapters. There's always going to be some kind of story going on. So it is very natural, but it's something I do work a lot on, because it just feels like, the album just has so much more weight to it. And that means the world to me. And us, hopefully, yeah. Sorry, that was a very long answer.
No, but a really interesting one. I work very similarly, I think, and also that I sing gibberish over my music, try to lock out everything I know about music theory and just sing and see what feels right, and trying to find motifs that maybe I can use throughout the music. And then try to make out some of the lines in the gibberish and see if any of that is usable, and then build the lyrics around that and use that kind of as a midpoint for everything, as an anchor point. But what I often focus on when I do my own lyric writing is trying to find a sort of motif that I can repeat often, which is something I probably got from, you know, pop music. And then that's something I notice. I mean, you have that for sure, and there's certainly some melodic motifs that do repeat in your music, but I feel like there's very little of it. And still, what I think is so amazing about it is that it still seems to work. It's still very catchy. Everyone, it's very easy to sing along to your melodies, even though there's so little repetition in them. And do you have any idea why that might be? I mean, that's a really difficult question. I don't know if I would have an answer, but is there any idea that you have why it's so easy to sing your melodies or remember them?
My gut feeling is just, I mean, I okay, this is a silly answer to it, but for me to like what I'm doing, I need to be able to remember it because I'm not writing it down. I don't know how to write it down. So I can record it, of course, but it's kind of a rule for me. If I can't remember the goddamn line, it's not good enough for me. I have to love singing it, and it has to be like, you used the word catchy before. It has to catch me. It has to be right behind the ear. So maybe I just have the ears of 95% of people. I don't know. It has to be catchy for me. So that's my basic answer. But I thought it was interesting you said with a repetition. I feel like that's very much what I kind of do, and maybe like with Destry as well. Like what's also nice is that Tóti comes in with those melodies and fucks them up a little bit. Maybe adds a harmony that I would never think of, or break off that repetitive pattern so it becomes a little bit more unique. I don't know. I can't remember what songs we've done that with, but it's definitely been a part of the process as well. But my basic answer would be, just it has to be. I have to be able to remember it.
And what would that be? What would that look like? So that means Tóti, you change the harmony underneath it. You change the music, or do you say like how about you do this with the melody, or you see what I mean? Are you talking about, are you helping with the melody, or are you going into the music of it? Are you changing the chords underneath?
That very rarely happens, that we change chords according to the melody. It happens sometimes, but it's very rare. Usually, we use tools like Melodyne to record Arnór, and then like we can drag it very easily without him having to learn a new line, and we can like fuck things up quite badly. And same with the harmonies. We usually do that with Melodyne as well. It's very convenient to have. It sounds kind of too convincing, and even some harmonies have ended up on the album that were just done with Melodyne.
So do you guys produce your own music, or do you have someone who works with you?
We've never really worked with a producer, but I would say Tóti would be like, if there ever was a producer, Tóti is our guy. Like he's the guy who knows how these work, and cables.
It's a microphone. Microphone.
Thank you.
Yep.
Just gotta guess that. Yeah. I mean, we can only talk about maybe.
We've always wanted to try like to have a producer with us, but I can't really see it happening.
No, they either don't get back to us, or no, they do get back to us, but I don't know, man. Many obstacles. Our way of working, maybe the tempo, and just that we're all also doing all kinds of stuff as well at the same time. And what do we really need from a producer? I think that is also a thing we need to look into. Like, because we trust our ears a lot, and Tóti is very much involved. We did work with Styrmir Hauksson, of course, for the last album as an engineer and mixing engineer. Tóti was also heavily in as a big part in the mixing as well. Like we all, it's difficult to pinpoint like one person, but within the band, definitely Tóti is. If I would say there was any producer really, it would be him. We'd always love to try and work with more people, get more ears, but I don't know, man.
We get a lot of ears actually. I show a lot of people what I'm working on,
And we did the Destry as well. Yeah, we had a lot of.
Yeah, well, then we got like all the people we respected kind of the most here in Iceland, like got them into a studio and listened to the whole album through, and that's so refreshing, like having somebody listen to your incomplete work because you hear instantly, you know, everything that's wrong with it.
It's crazy. Just having a person in the room, just whether it's for a mix or if I'm trying out a melody and I let my girlfriend listen to it. Like, can you listen with me? And she listens and I'm like, no, don't say anything. I know exactly what I'm gonna do. You know, it just, you know, it just changes the chemistry inside the room and you just hear it differently. You don't even need, but of course there were people we respected a lot, so we definitely wanted to hear what they had to say, but so we get the ears in, but we don't have that producer from the beginning. And maybe it's also like how we write songs, because it's like totally writing the tracks through a period of time. I'm then trying to follow up with vocals and lyrics, and then all of a sudden everything is ready and I'm very behind, and then I work on that, and then they record, and then we record, and then we mix. It's just, there's no like 2 months where we're writing, where everything is created. It's just, maybe we can do it in the future sometime. I don't know. That would be interesting to see, but we haven't done it so far. And this is only our 3rd album as well. So just the way we work right now, it hasn't made any sense. But I'm not unhappy with anything yet.
No, I mean, I think it has, this process has a certain sound as well, I think, because what you're describing sounds to me, and I think that's what the album reflects, is, you know, this is something that one person wrote in a room, and it kind of reflects that. The music sounds like it's a personal struggle. It's someone who's kind of, you know, spinning circles in their mind and trying to get deeper and deeper, and it's getting more and more complex. And I think the music really reflects that. I think it's a great way to write this. I think the music sounds like this because of this process as well. You know, I think compressing that into a schedule of a producer and saying like, okay, now this is where we write the music, this is when we record it, and this is when we mix it, I think it would really change the music, which might be very interesting as well, to hear a different side of Agent Fresco as well. But I think the record really sounds this way because of the process behind it as well.
It's a very fair point.
That's a good point. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good. Thank you. Yeah.
No, it's fun to like have somebody else, you know, telling you these things, because I don't really like to think about them, and kind of like an hour before we started talking, I listened to a few tracks of Destroyer, and I was like, wow, I never listened to this, because this reminds me of a time like in the studio, sweaty for days. It's just
panic attacks, tunnel vision, tears.
Yeah, recording stuff, at least for me, isn't the most pleasant thing.
I want it so badly for this new album, and I think it's gonna be way more positive. I don't think it was like dark days, but it was a difficult time, and we put a lot of pressure on ourselves, and so I totally connect with that. That I can hear the anxiety in the voice throughout the entire album. I can just hear it's not great takes, but then I always am like, well, at least it's honest, you know. That's just where I was. It's in the lyrics, it's in the way I sing. Thank you, Melodyne, for correcting me throughout every single song, otherwise it would sound like shit. And that's just the truth of it, and that makes it difficult for me to listen. That's the only thing, because I love our song. I love our songs. I love the album. I could definitely listen to it. But it was a struggle, which is nice now to look back on, you know. Because you take that and you like, okay, what can we do better next time around, and how can we make it into a more pleasant experience? So now I'm just writing about happy stuff and energy drinks. No. It's going to be a very special album that we're going to release next year, definitely.
Cool. How far are you right now? Like, where do you have some songs that are completely finished, or?
Yeah. What is it like? We're looking at a batch of 14 songs or something, and trying to figure out Like we have a playlist, me and Tote separately on iTunes here, with the last bounces of the songs, and we just keep putting the tracks up and down, and then like where do they fit? I mean, even the track listing, and that changes a lot. Like also for me, just with what song I'm most loving, and that's almost always just like the latest one I've been really happy with, or changed the melodies. It's difficult for me because I still have melodies to write and still lyrics to finish. So I'm having a hard time like being really, you know, like the album is far from finished in my, you know, in my mind. But for Tote, like so many, it's all there, and he keeps adding layers that are just blowing my mind. And some of the stuff he's adding after he's heard the melody and the vocals is in there, maybe changing the composition a little bit, or the chords or something, to create a little more tension, or a climax to where the melody is just so cool, and I'm so stoked about it. But it's difficult, man, because you could have asked us the same question a year ago, and I would have probably said the same, like, it's almost there. But we're just putting in the hours. I'm here whenever I can after work, and the guys have already recorded half of the drums, and the rest is going to be recorded here in September, and hopefully, you know, I don't know, hopefully the tempo, hopefully shit will just happen. But it's so difficult as well to put like a finish line on the whole creative process. But I
know what you mean.
Yeah.
You always think it's going to take a couple more weeks, and then those small things.
Yeah, pretty much with anything in life, you can, you know, times 10 the amount of time you think anything is going to take.
And just finishing one night, you're just really happy with one melody, and you're so happy about everything, and you're like, this is going to be the best album ever, and I'm so happy, and it's just so crazy good. And then you wake up and then do another session, and you can't finish another line, and you're like, fuck this, why am I even doing this? I'm never going to finish anything. Why? I shouldn't be in a band. I shouldn't be recorded. That roller coaster, it's fun. It's so much fun. It's devastating and so uplifting. And that's why I fucking love it.
See, this is something where I really envy you, because for me it's so I write all of my own music as well. So and for me it's always, when I come to that point where I'm like, I have no idea what to write to this, I usually go back to the music and just change something about the music. And often it's that there's not enough space in the music, or that it's rhythmically taking up too much, or it's kind of determining where everything's supposed to go. You know, there's already like a clear rhythm in it, and it's really difficult to take control of the rhythm with the vocals. And so I typically go back to that. And how have you experienced writing to someone else's music? Like, I mean, I'm sure there's got to be some pieces of music where it's probably easier than others, but are there some techniques you have developed to find melodies if you're struggling? Is there anything, or is it just trying things, you know, throwing things at the wall and seeing what sticks?
Yeah. Keep at it constantly. Tote introduced me to a great app called the Amazing Slowdowner, where you can just, you know, put in the MP3 WAV file, whatever, the audio file, and you can pitch correct, not pitch correct, but you can you know, put it down like a 1 or 2 semitones, or lift it up, or change the tempo, speed it up, speed it down, without really ruining the quality of the track.
Yeah, they have some decent algorithms, and I actually, like, when I'm writing the instrumentals, I usually do a bounce before I go home. I don't listen to it in the original key. I only listen to it a semitone up or down when I'm not at the studio. So I always have fresh ears when I'm back at the studio, and only when I can work on it, you know, I have it in the correct key. Because listening to the track a semitone up changes you hear it like a new song.
Yeah, 100%. So that's the trick, and it's like really sour, like where you're just like, okay, I'm continuously singing the same kind of melody over and over again. That's good for fresh ears. The way we write stuff is the way I've written music. I've written melodies and vocals my entire life. It's ridiculous. Like I've just been blessed with having like great partners in crime, like from high school when I was in a band, and then when I moved to Iceland, when I got into Fresco, and the work I've done with all of Arnold's or Yoko Kano, like just always having, just been blessed with having great composers, which is also really fucked up because I've never really myself written completely just music from scratch, you know, the arrangements and everything. So I'm in a position where it's really nice. There's been laid out a landscape for me. I need to explore it, and it's like it depends on how you view it. It can be very difficult because and challenging because, like, especially with Fresco, we have songs on the new album as well. Like there's a song and the chorus only comes once, or like I have the key of the song changes, or there are 5 choruses or the chorus is so long and or the verse is longer than I would ever usually do. But at the same time, I feel like it's very nice for me to have, this is what you've got. Get the best, get into this track, get personal with it, and figure out where you fit into it. And I'm just lucky that I have a guy that writes with great chords in mind, but also very challenging. You know, it's a challenging, not challenging. You can interpret it like an advanced structure, you know. But there's always like the chords are always juicy for me. And with the new album, which we maybe can talk about when we're done with it, there's new ways he's found to challenge me, to give me less chords and information on what's going on, and that's been really challenging as well. So, yeah, man, I just keep at it until I'm like happy. If it's the way we've done the new album is also I'm sending a little, I'm recording and sending to the guys and like, the mood, is it cool? Does it fit with the audience as well? It's less like me just putting something and we record, so it's more, we're all a little bit more working together now, I feel, with the vocals. Yeah, so that's just the way I work, and it's weird because, you know, like I said, it's been this way throughout my entire life as a singer or whatever you call it. Like, everybody should sing, everybody should do something with their music. I've just been lucky that I've always had these guys around me, so I've always had like a project to have fun with and have some kind of outlet for all of this. But yeah, challenges and as well blessings, you know, to have somebody write the entire instrumental playground for you.
Yeah, for sure. So when you have a melody line written for a section, when do the lyrics come in? Does that happen? So you said you have some bits here and there that are already sort of filled in, so to say. And the next step, I'm guessing, is that you fill in those missing spots. And I know from my own experience, because that's how I do it as well, how challenging that can be, because you have set syllables. You know this has this many notes and you don't want to push it all that much. Do you ever push it and say like, hey, you know what, this is really the word I love, I'm going to use that, even if it's, you know, makes the melody a little bit longer or makes it a little bit shorter? How do you see that whole relationship with the melody that you've created, and what does your process look like to come up with lyrics?
I definitely chase the what came natural to begin with. So at that point, you already know what kind of like vowel sound that sounds best. And I definitely, if there's a rhythmical, like, and the rhythm is great with the composition, then I chase that, which also makes it a little bit easier. Then I know, okay, how I want the sentence to look, how many punctuations, syllables I have to, I have to work with. But then also when you start writing and then there's maybe a longer sentence and that inspires you to, oh, wait a minute, why I could just change the rhythmical pattern here. So that definitely happens, but I most of the time I definitely just chase what I've already had. But I allow the words to change it while it's still natural. I'm not gonna, like, if a line works like da 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 da, I'm not gonna do like, oh, but this line is so great, so I'm gonna do da 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 da. You know, it just sounds silly. I'm not gonna use it. And then, you know, the melody is a way more important than getting the words. And that's just a challenge. It's like Twitter. Just have to keep it below those characters. You know. It's just
yeah, exactly.
That's a good way. No, so
there's
that's
something I notice you doing quite a lot is when you have a longer melody, that you will sometimes squeeze two lyrical lines within that. So you're kind of concatenating two lines to make up a longer melody. So for example, in what's that? Wait for Me. There's a line in the chorus. Words would be withered without you. Wait for me. That's kind of one melody. But there's these two lines within that. You know what I mean? And is that something? Because I hear that you're doing that a lot. And is that how? Could you describe your process behind that?
No. I just remember I really loved having the what's it called again? When you have the same what's it called?
The same vowel sound?
Yeah. What's it called?
Vowel?
No, okay, I can't remember the word for it. But yeah.
Consonant?
Yeah, the same consonants. Yeah, just what the fuck is it called? Well, doesn't matter. Words would be withered without you. Wait.
Oh, an alliteration.
Yeah, alliteration. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. I can't remember how I wrote that. I like doing that a lot, and that also influences, you know, the rhythm. I don't really know why. It's just fun.
Just happens.
Just happens. Because your question is like with the more, what was it again, like
that you're concatenating two lines into one melody sometimes. That when you have a longer melody, that you split it up into two lyrical lines, basically.
Yeah, definitely not something I've thought about. So, thank you for noticing. And yes, it was definitely something I did on purpose, and it's very smart. Next question.
Okay. Yeah. Well, so yeah, you're known for your beautiful flowery prose, and as you just mentioned, with the alliteration, and you have a very nice choice of words as well in your songs.
Nice.
So seeing that English is your second language, how did you do that, basically, is my question.
Because I'm smart. We've covered this area.
Okay. Next question.
Yeah, next question. No, I'm actually raised in Denmark, so I am not that good at speaking Icelandic. And Danish is kind of my first language then, in a way. And I felt alienated because I felt like I was an Icelandic person. So I didn't enjoy watching Danish cartoons or listening to Danish music. So I listened to a lot of English music and I read a lot in English when I was in elementary school and high school, and was very much in love with Poe and Whitman, especially Poe. I don't know what it is, emo kind of goth poetry. I don't know, and also just like classic, like The Raven, like that rhythmic. I think I'm very inspired by that. Just like reading that out loud is just it's rhythmical heaven. You know what I mean? That sounds weird. Sorry, but
it's very musical poetry as well.
It's very musical, and so that's just always been natural for me, and always loved music, and always been like, that's just a friend of mine, an intimate friend of mine. And with when writing the songs, I just like creating layers because that's what I love when people do, like whether it's it's just so nice when listening to a song and I feel the emotional you feel the emotional content, but also digging into the lyrics. There's other layers hidden. So I like, using Greek mythology or religion, or just referencing to other poetry. I do that a lot. I do that a lot with Agent Fresco. So you can find references here and there to hopefully make you understand the song better if you want to understand why I wrote it, but doesn't change it. Like, it should not affect how your relationship is with the song. But I like that personally when an artist does that. I love going into songmeanings.com or just googling like what artists say about their just digging deep into the lyrics. So for me, like with Toad, this love for the unexplored landscape of rhythms, for me it's like words. There's a lot of words being used, but I feel like still, like especially today and within the modern scene, like we could use the English language in a more poetic and more just in a more beautiful way. So that's something I put a lot of work in, and I do acknowledge that not a lot of people dig deep into the lyrics, but I don't give a shit about that, because I know that's what I love doing with other artists. So thank you for noticing that. That's why I'm bald. I spent way too much time on that.
So would you say that every line in your lyrics are specifically about something? Could you explain every single line in your lyric, or are there some lines where that are just about that are just about sound, or just about alliterations or things like that, or just about the rhyme, or is it some are abstract, or is everything about something?
That sounds like a trick question, and I'm not going to answer you. And then you're going to give me a line, and I have to explain it. I would say, hopefully, the goal is, of course, always to go there. But I would be damned if there were a line somewhere. No, I pretty much try to make every line. Don't you dare give me a sentence, but I try to make every line important. That's the goal. There shouldn't be any fillers, really. There's always a reason for them there, whether that's poetic or rhythmical or just because there are always that balance with like having kind of opaque, kind of deep symbolic meaning, and then also just like really straightforward, just personal raw lines, which that's the mix I always try to get. So it's something you can interpret in any way, but there's always like there's always a line that's pretty straightforward, and then there's a lot of layers as well. So it's that balance, that dance with words. So I'm not leaving people behind with like Cedric of Mars Volta, where you're like, what's going on in these lyrics, and I'm not being completely direct, so I know exactly what I'm talking about, but you get just enough just to like, okay, that's the emotional content, and then there's stuff you can like fool around with a bit just to explore. That's my goal. That's what I love. So I that's why it's so natural for me to do, because I love when other artists do that.
Cool. All right. So you guys know, I think a lot about image and how bands put themselves out there and how they portray themselves in music videos, or in any shape or form, really, through album covers, for example. And I just really like to know, how have you guys talked about that? Do you guys have a plan, and what does that look like? I mean, I can tell you what my 3 words are for you guys, and I'd just be interested in if it matches what you guys were thinking about yourself.
Oh, imagery. We just talked recently about being way more, I think like with Destry along to, I just took charge really, because I just felt like it, and there were like a clear concept in my mind with the lyrics, and I thought that it would be nice to have that reflected on the album cover as well. And there are always like ideas behind that and deeper, I've made the artist also focus on keywords within the album. With a new album, we're still figuring that one out, and I yeah, can't wait for us to dig deep into that, because I think that's going to be way more collaborative effort. With our image, I mean, I remember what I told Dore, who did and Marino, the artwork of Destrier, for instance, and that was, you know, have that balance between beauty and destruction, and like that birth and death beginning, and put focus on fire, just something that creates and can destroy, and that was the thing with Destrier. Are you thinking about artwork purely, or are you thinking about videos as well, or what?
About the videos as well, for sure, yeah.
I also took charge there, sorry. But that's also something we're going to be way more collaborative. But that was just... Dark Water was with the guys that did the artwork with us. And that was pretty straightforward. It's Dark Water and we're in it. That was pretty basic. And the girl, Hera, who's... Heba, sorry. Heba, who's on the front cover, is the one drowning us in the dark water. So that was pretty straightforward. But Sea Hell was just that line, like waking up with charcoal hands. So it was, you know, trying to get rid of that. And then we just, you know, it went from a crazy idea of something in the beat and public execution to like just this one guy going through like a
spiral.
Yeah, but you wake up and it's the same day and everything is just what's it called?
Yeah. Groundhog Day.
Groundhog Day, exactly, yeah. Until he's like completely clean, and then he's like, well, this doesn't work. I'm addicted to the charcoal, to dirty hands, dirty body, which is of course meant to be a metaphor for all of that, you know. Anger, anxiety, like trying to get rid of it, but then it's just become such a big part of you. Wait for me was pretty also straightforward, and that I was really happy I was allowed to do. Just a song that's about being far away from my family. They still live in Denmark, and you know, I moved to Iceland when my father when we lost my father, and have lived here since then, and that's 13 years. 13 years ago. That's crazy. And we just had all of this, you know, family footage, and we cut them all together for Wait For Me. So it's my family and in that video. So just because it was a personal song, and then just a personal video as well. And House was just, you know, we wanted to release a video, and you know, because we had the footage from the release concert, which was this huge thing, where we had everyone involved with the album and on stage and more people to perform it live in its entirety.
Something I got as well, like that the music videos seem to be about people, often about a singular person as well. That it's again, you know, my one of my 3 words was the internal struggle. You know, it's really about one person dealing with a problem, and that often reflects in, you know, in the cover of Destrier as well, of course, but also in the music videos, and obviously in the music and the lyrics. But that's something that certainly came across for me as well with Dark Waters, by the way, which also seems like a very personal thing. Even though there's multiple people in the video, it seems like a very personal video still. It has it gave me almost an operatic kind of vibe, or like I mean, obviously has those artsy art videos kind of undertones, and it almost reminded me a little bit of a theater play or something like that, or you know, something like Hamlet, something very personal about psyche in a way. And since you have a very operatic voice, that kind of, to me, goes together somehow. There's an operatic drama there somehow. I think it has the music is very grand. It's in some moments, like the dynamics of the music are very large. You know, so you have these very small moments in the music. For example, the bridge of Dark Water, and then you have these huge moments together, and you know the vocals on top of everything. So to me, it always felt like a personal opera in a way.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, it's a tragedy. It's a dramatic tragedy.
It's ups and downs.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That was a better answer than I had. Let's use that. Cut, edit. Yeah, just put it on when I'm speaking. Put your voice.
Exactly. Now I'll just take my face, plug it onto your. I mean, pretty much the same person, anyways. So
exactly. I just need glasses. Yeah. So it's yeah, we're good. Oh yeah. So like because it means a lot to me that we just don't record something and then throw it out and then there's gonna be videos and there's nothing in the video connected, but like it all has to be connected. That's of course like a high priority for me. The artwork. It's all a big. It's not a better word than package, but it's all the same body of work, for me. So it's not just recording the music, releasing it, but the artwork, the videos, how we perform it. Of course it's gonna be connected. So yeah, getting excited to see what we can do with the new album, and also what we're gonna do visually with that. And that's something we're still chewing on.
Yeah, we have some ideas.
Cool. Right, almost done. I just have one last quick question. And that is, you guys live in Iceland, one of the most beautiful places nature-wise on Earth, and you never portrayed in your music videos. Why is that, you think?
Just don't have the budget. Kidding. No.
I don't think that's a conscious decision.
No.
With the
should perform on a mountain or a glacier. That's what people want, right?
I think we really don't like being predictable, and that can be pretty predictable.
Yeah, exactly. I think we talked about it during the first album. It's like, didn't want to do that. It's. I think it's this. Yeah. Oh, let's watch out what we say, and then the first video is going to be us on top of a glacier. But yeah, I just don't. I can't imagine it. I really love doing the video for Tempo. That was also weird. Like we put a lot of money into making a video for a song that wasn't like really a radio song at all, but just we felt like it would be like a nice end chapter to that long-term listening cycle, and we just had the idea of that doing that in Uno, which is a beautiful small venue we have here in Reykjavik, and just us facing each other, which we do during rehearsals, which felt natural. It just also needs to be a little bit natural. I don't know if we could do a video where we're just standing on a glacier and performing and then not laughing our asses off. I don't think that's possible because we're big clowns. We like to have a good laugh. So I don't know if we could even take that serious. I don't know. Let's see what happens. But of course, I'd love to do a performance video as well. But it's always fun. Miming to yourself is a weird experience.
Do you sing along or do you just move your mouth?
Oh yes. And we have a great recording of Implosions where we're 4 of us just singing along to Implosions. And I have the raw file where Vignir, our bassist, is closest to the camera and he's singing very loudly and he really needs the Melodyne and it has to hit YouTube at some point. We played it during we didn't play it during his wedding, I think, but it's one of the best videos I have ever seen. And it was important for us to sing, of course, but that's the best thing ever. We definitely perform. But yeah, I have no idea what we're gonna do. But we have to cut this out if we ever do a glacier video because otherwise I'm gonna look stupid and we don't want that. I'm gonna look smart. We've decided that. So who knows? Who knows what we're gonna do next year?
Cool.
Maybe we'll have an animated video. No, that's expensive.
All right. Unless there's anything else you guys wanted to talk about, I would say we maybe call it quits. What do you guys think?
Let's talk
There
about
must be something we haven't covered enough.
There's much more. We haven't talked about politics or no. We're just again. It's just an honor talking to you. Love what you do, and it's been fun, especially while we're writing the new album. To like, okay, we're geniuses. No, I'm kidding. Like we're no, it's just stuff you don't think about when you write, and stuff you do think about, and then shedding some light on that. Hopefully, people will find it interesting and will be there with us when we release the new album next year.
Cool. Any word on what the new album is going to sound like? Do you think it's in the vein of Destria, or are you guys throwing us a left hook and going for something completely different?
It's gonna be the heaviest album we've ever done. Isn't that the basic answer?
It's going to be very different.
Very different. Yeah. We say that, and then people will not think it maybe, or maybe they will. At the same time, I don't feel like it's different, but then we've just been working on these songs for so long, so it just feels like naturally just where we are right now. But definitely, if we put them side by side, it's gonna be very different from Destria. I only sing in the lower register and and do pig squeals. That's the only thing I do on this album. No. I just keep saying special. That's the only thing. I really feel like there's something special going on. Whatever that means for the audience, I don't know. I don't care. I really enjoy writing this album.
And I don't think we'll ever be at a point where like we're thinking, no, we're there. You know, this is what we're gonna sound like. Yeah. That sounds very boring to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we're always going to try to do something very different each time, even if it's not a very like conscious decision.
Mm-hmm.
I would not like to write something too similar to something I've done before.
Amen.
Amen. Nice closing words, guys. Totsi, Arnar, thank you very much for having this talk with me, and good luck with your next record and everything that's going on.
Woo! Thanks for having us.